Shireen and Harpo, who wanted to make a little guest appearance here at the start of the video because he also missed making videos as much as I did. But hey, that's one thing that Mercury retrograde is really good for, is helping us return to things that we love. So, you know, you might find that you're finally getting back to things that got put on the back burner a little bit too long, and now is the time to finally get back to it, at least for me. So now I'm going to try to get back into some regular video making, God's willing, and let's start with what's happening now and what's going to be coming up in September. So this is kind of an end of August, early September forecast, because we are in this very weird transitional point. We're in a crossroads, a major crossroads. And I feel like it's important to do a video now as we're in the transition, because it's exactly what I feel is going on, where we're still processing this very intense post-eclipse aftermath, which isn't completely finished. We're not done. It's not done with us, rather. And that's because there's still some more planetary energies that are going to come through and set it off again over the next couple weeks. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first, we're in this first quarter moon phase, lunar phase, as I make the video. So the first quarter lunar phase in Sagittarius is the precursor to the full moon in Pisces next week, next Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on where you live. So this first quarter lunar phase in Sagittarius, which is also the sign where Saturn is for the last few months of the year, before, of course, he moves on to Capricorn, we're in this kind of like, there's this feeling of wanting to wrap things up, feeling like, okay, Saturn is finally out of retrograde, let's move forward with the vision, let's move forward and give structure to like our 10,000 plans, which is very Sagittarius, like the 10 of Wands tarot card, like how do we bring structure to all of these things we want to do? Can we make it happen? But then the world is falling apart, and there's like, and it is, and there's, you know, and how do we save the world and work on our vision? And is that selfish? And what are we doing? What, you know, what's going on? There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of intensity of not knowing where to put our focus now. And Mercury is still in retrograde. So we're also dealing with all this material coming back to us from the past, all these details, all of this sifting and sorting of the Mercury retrograde in Virgo, which is about to shift back into Leo on Thursday. So this Thursday, we're going to have Mercury going back into the sign of Leo, which also means Mercury is going to be setting off the eclipse point at 28 Leo. So, and that's also where Mars is. So it's a very intense time of integrating the heart and the mind and making sense, if possible, of whatever that eclipse was breaking open in our heart. It really, you know, some people are calling it the total eclipse of the heart, but I actually feel like it wasn't the heart that was eclipsed. It was whatever was blocking us from actually feeling what is in our hearts. You know, we have so many distractions and so many defense mechanisms that we often don't even feel what's in our heart. But if nothing else, I really felt that eclipse broke that wide open, so that the heart was just like kind of left as this like raw, like, and we're still there, like we're feeling that raw heart energy of our world in so much pain, and Mother Earth just sobbing and screaming at us with all these floods all over the world. It's not just in Houston, but we have it in India and in you know, many, it's happening all over the place. I can't even name all the cities because on the news you just keep hearing of another city. So it's as Marianne Williams said in her live stream talk tonight, it's not just another storm. We can't just write these things off as like, oh, that's just another storm, and try to look the other way or distract ourselves, you know, or just become numb or immune to it. It's really important as part of our spiritual work that we look at this, we address it, and she was advising atone for it in whatever way we can, which I think step one is to just look at it, recognize it, talk about it, get involved, do whatever we can, take action, which this is a good segue to what I think is coming up now with Mars getting ready to hit that eclipse point in early September. So it's going to be Mercury and Mars. So it's going to be like walking the talk. It's like putting your heart into your actions and into your words. Like there can't be a separation anymore. We have to take the action. We have to speak up. We have to speak out. And I feel like early September, this is going to be the imperative. And with the Pisces full moon coming early September, the 5th and 6th, it's all about the compassion and the empathy and that, that deluge of unconditional love that we're capable of at our highest level when we get out of ourselves. The other thing, I'm referencing her a lot because I was so inspired by her talk tonight. She says, we do our best work when we realize it's not about us. When we finally that's how we get out of that whole loop of playing small, is when we stop thinking it's about us. So even with the astrology, I think when we take it out of like, oh, well, how is it going to affect me? What's it mean for me? And we can say, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, what are the bigger messages here? Where are we being called at our highest level to do our highest level of work? It's not just following your heart for your own ego's gratification, but following your heart, meaning like, what is your heart really capable of? And how can your heart, being open, actually reverberate into the world and cause changes? I mean, it does start on the personal level in that sense that if we're not okay internally, we're not going to be of much help. But we don't want to get so self-focused that it's all only about our personal transformation and what's in it for us and what can we get and what's happening in our little lives. So that's also a good segue for the finale of Jupiter in Libra in September. So that's the last full month that Jupiter is going to be in Libra. And Jupiter for the last year has been trying to teach us about higher lessons around justice. So are we getting those lessons? Are we putting them into practice? Are we really looking into the face of injustice in our world? And what are we doing about it? And are we merging that with our spiritual talk and our practices? Are we walking the talk, you could say, is a big theme. So this is going to carry out even more so into September. Of course, now the full moon in Pisces, like I said, it's the 5th and 6th. It's going to bring up a lot of unconscious material, a lot of murky stuff. If you think of the moon tarot card, all of that muck that's like at the bottom of the pool of water of the unconscious, the waters of the unconscious, we have to pull that up and out to bring it to the light now. So we are still processing those eclipse energies, those shadow energies. Everything that we want to say is out there and blame, like, no, it's not me, it's them, and they did that, they make me this way. If they were different, then I would be so-and-so, such and such. That we're not taking personal responsibility, and we do it in really subtle ways. We want the other person or the other situation or the outer condition to change before we can do X, Y, or Z. So that's how we're giving our power away. So we give a lot of our power away to the shadow, and all the blame games and pointing the finger obviously is also shadow. Any judgment you feel is shadow. So we talk a lot about shadow work, but are we really doing the work? Are we really looking into where we're not taking personal responsibility and stepping up and just looking at where we're playing small and weak? And that's going to really come up now as Mercury and Mars hit that eclipse point in early September. It's like the first week of September. Actually, yeah, it's like, I think it's this weekend, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it is. Wow. So Mercury and Mars are meeting up the first few days of September. So this weekend is when it's going to get really intense. So good time to make the video. I guess that's why I felt compelled to like sit down. I was about to go to bed and I was like, no, I'm going to make a video first. Because if I don't do it late night, I won't ever do it. That's what I learned about myself. And Mercury retrograde is teaching us these kind of things, like to look at the details of how we do, because it's in Virgo, how we do our daily schedule, what kind of rituals we have, how we work best, when we work best, not to judge it, not to, try to force it into something that isn't natural. Like for me, it's just accepting I'm going to do my best work late at night, not early in the morning. So if that means making a video at 1 in the morning, that's what I have to do. So anyway, this retrograde finale is also is peaking in the next couple days too, because on the 5th is when Mercury stations direct. But don't be fooled into thinking, oh, everything is going to be smooth sailing after the 5th. Of course, there's always like that wonky period. And I tend to find the last week of the finale of the retrograde tends to be the most intense for me, especially since it's so close to the full moon. And, I've dropped my phone like 5 times in the last few days. Keep cracking the screen, repairing it, cracking it again. So it's that kind of thing, like break something, repair it, break it again, repair it again, and requires a lot of patience in those final days. So you might find there's a few more glitches you have to just bear with until we get to the other side. Probably like middle of September before we really feel like things are a little more smooth in the communication and travel departments and technological departments, of course. But Saturn is direct now. That's a big thing, and this first quarter moon is highlighting that. Tomorrow, Wednesday, which is the, what day is that? I can't even keep track of my days, the 30th. Wednesday, we're having that grand fire trine. So tomorrow, probably when you're watching this video, we'll be in it. So the moon and Saturn are going to set off the grand fire trine with Uranus in Aries and Mars and the North Node in Leo. So it's extremely creative, but also fiery, you know. It's an incendiary time where things can just get lit. So you have to be careful what you want to set on fire. And don't start fires that you didn't mean to start that you can't put out, you know. And also watch the fire in your house, like with cooking and candles and things like that too tomorrow. So yeah, it's a fiery time. It's a feisty time. It's a creative time. It's an unpredictable time, and it's a time of deep transition where we have to really mind our shadow, mind our minds, mind our words, mind our communication still, and most importantly, the unconscious material over the next couple weeks, because full moon in Pisces tends to can bring up our deepest self-sabotaging patterns, because it's anything lurking in the depths of the unconscious waters that come up, and if they're unconscious, they have a way of undermining us often. So we want to really take the time to meditate, journal, introspect, and just, you know, keep an eye on what's operating behind the scenes for you right now. So that would be my best advice for navigating these kind of choppy waters for the next couple weeks. And I'll be back. I only made it about halfway through September, so I'll come back in a couple weeks to talk about the new moon in Virgo on the 19th, and then of course the equinox after that. But I feel like this is enough to digest in the meantime. So yeah, so Mercury retrograde ending, full moon in Pisces, Mercury moving back into Leo. So Leos have to be a little more mindful about the Mercury retrograde situation just for about 9 days. I think Mercury's not going to be in Leo for very long. Yeah, just until the 9th of September. So it's just a little stint there, but it's good to, you know, to be mindful of it. And then he'll go back into Virgo, and it'll be really nice to have Mercury in Virgo without the retrograde, because then we can really get down to work. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll hopefully be back at that time with some more information and updates. So thanks for watching.